want to encourage you today, friends, to look at your life and to say, hold on for a second. Life is not happening to me. Life is happening for me. Where do I need to grow? Where do I need to level up? What skills do I need to learn? Who do I need to get around? What are the things that I need to begin to start focusing on more on a daily basis that at the end of the day are going to build me to the next best version of myself? Hey, friends, welcome back to another episode of the Champion Life podcast. Today, guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about your perspective, your mindset when it comes to this question. Is life happening for me or is it happening to me? Here's what I mean is that we all have different things going on in our life, depending on what season of life you're in, what stage your kids are at, where your marriage is at, your business, your career, all those different things. And I believe that the importance of how you answer that question is going to ultimately dictate your belief systems, your thoughts, your emotions, and all those different things. And so one of the things that that I want this podcast to do for you and for all that listen is to help you in the process of creating what I like to define as the champion life, right? I'm going to continuously remind you of what that means, because at the end of the day, if we're not living a life that is giving us joy, that is giving us peace, that's giving us, as I defined it, a life of abundance and freedom and victory, then what are we doing? What are we really doing? See, some of the men and I were having a conversation that I lead at my Bible study on Wednesday mornings at 6 a.m. And we were talking about the gift of life. And we were talking about how there's seasons of life. And, that through those seasons of life, we have friends, right? And I always love to say we have friends for a reason. We have friends for a season. And then we have friends for a lifetime. And see, friends for a reason are just people that are going to come into your life every once in a while for a very short season. They could come in for literally, a 1 minute, and they help you with something. And it could be, something that is like, holy cow, I didn't realize that person was going to have such a significant impact in such a short reason, so maybe it's somebody that's came over and they prayed over you, and that's it. And then that relationship ended. Or it was somebody that got you something or spoke of a word of encouragement or sent you a message. I call that a distant friend that was there for a reason. There was something that they spoke over me or something that they did for me that literally in the moment, right, changed the trajectory of my life. Okay, but then we have friends for a season. Those are people that are going to come in that season, maybe a couple weeks, a couple months, or even, for years. I can look at some of the different businesses that I've been a part of, and I'm so thankful for that season of life that God brought those people into my life, right? And they were there for a season. They were there for a chapter, if you will, of my life. And then we have friends for a lifetime, and those are very few and far between. But they're there for the long haul, and we get to do life with them, right? Well, I believe just so much is there's friends for a reason, friends for a season, and friends for a lifetime. That's the way life really works, isn't it? Like, we live these seasons of life, right? Like, for me, I'm in the season of life right now where our two oldest have gotten married, our two youngest just graduated high school, and now Rachel and I are finding ourselves more alone than ever. We have more time alone. We have more time to spend together. We have more time to say, hey, you know what? What do we want to do tonight? We can have multiple date nights each week. We have the ability to just up and leave and go and travel and do the things that we want to do. And that takes a certain level of discipline to say, well, hold on for a second. Even though we can do that, should we do that, right? Because we also have businesses and we have things that we're working on and things that require, attention and energy and so forth and so on. And so for you, you might be in a season of life where you're like, man, that would be nice to be able to do that. But you can't just pick up and leave and go because you have kids who are young, right? And they need you. For there was a season of my life where I wanted to, one of my main goals and the things that I wanted to do was every day, I just wanted to coach. Like I wanted to coach, people, which is what I'm more doing now. But at that point in my life, I wanted to coach my kids. I wanted to be involved in every sport that they were doing, and I wanted to coach multiple teams. And why? Because at that point in that season of my life, that was the most important mission that I could fulfill, was being there for my kids, spending that time with them, developing them. And so instead of saying, hey, just go play these sports and it's 2 or 3 hours each evening or however many evenings a week you're going to be gone, or I'm going to have to view it from a spectator out on the stands, I wanted to be in their life. I wanted to be pouring into them and teaching them life lessons, through the game of sports, right? Now in business, I look at business the same way. It's a sport. So now, the majority of my kids are becoming entrepreneurs, and I'm having these conversations with my son Carson and my son Austin, and I'm like, hey guys, listen, you got to understand that business is a sport. And when you have the mindset that life is happening not to you but for you, you're going to begin to start taking these life lessons that you're getting in business, and you're going to understand how important it is to prepare. So we were talking about preparation the other day, that just like in sports, you practice so that when you get into the game, you're going to be more better and prepared. Well, that's the same thing in business, right? So whether it's practicing for, an upcoming opportunity because you're in sales, or it's practicing for an opportunity because now you've actually had somebody say yes to your product or service, but now you got to deliver, or you've got competition, right? And what happens is they want to beat you. Well, you got to be prepared so that you have an advantage, much like in sports. And so it's much like in life, though. If you're a husband, a father, a wife, a mom, you're leading different areas of your life, is each and every day things are happening to you. But I want to encourage you to look at those as those things are happening for you. Even when you have what some people would view as losses, sometimes things don't go your way. And instead of looking at them in a negative, looking at those problems as opportunities and say, you know what? How can I grow from this? I love the saying, don't just go through things, but grow through things. And I give Nate Carr credit for that, because he's the one that first shared that with me when he was saying, Curt, listen, you want to be physically strong, but you also want to be mentally and emotionally strong. You want to do your 10,000 reps from the neck up every single day, building your mindset so that when things happen, you understand that they're happening for you, not to you. See, Romans 8:28 says that all things work together for the good for those who love the Lord, according to his purpose for our life. So see, sometimes when we're in the middle of a mess, we don't realize that God's preparing us for a message, right? Like something that just happened, and all of a sudden it's like, what is going on here in my life right now? And instead of looking at it and saying, why me? Why is this happening to me? It's like, well, why not me? Because here's the deal: is he's growing you. He's making you get uncomfortable. He's sharpening you so that now you're going to be better prepared, so that not only can your life go next level, but now you can go help others. See, I was working out with a young man the other day, and we were having a workout, and he had reached out to me and said, hey, I would love to work out with you. As a young guy, and he's getting ready to graduate high school, and he's going through some stuff in his life that's a little bit dysfunctional, right? If your mom is serving some time in jail and you're having to deal with that as a kid who's in high school, that's what we would call dysfunctional, right? Like that's not the typical story, that most kids are or should be living through, right? And so she's growing, she's learning, and I'm speaking life into her. And now this young man says, hey, can we work out? And as we're working out together, it's not just an opportunity for me to help him, from a fitness standpoint, but it's also an opportunity to speak life into him, because I've been there. I know what that's like to grow up in a lot of dysfunction, and to go through things that aren't the normal thing for the normal family, right? And so that opportunity was an opportunity to say to him, listen, This is an opportunity for you to look at your life and to say, hey, listen, I'm going to learn from this. Someday this is going to be a story that I'm going to tell. I'm going to learn as I grow through this, not just go through this, that, hey, I'm sharpening, I'm becoming better. I'm learning how to control my emotions. I'm learning how to have empathy for the things that my mom has gone through and compassion, but also be able to encourage her at the same time. I'm also realizing that these are things that I don't want to happen in my life as I get older. And then we started talking about vision, and we started talking about his message and what he's about and what he wants to accomplish in his life and speaking vision. But one of the things that I said is that, listen, never have the attitude of, why me? Instead, have the attitude of, why not me? Like, if somebody's got to go through this, why not me? And how can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And as I had the opportunity to speak life to him, I said, listen, I know exactly where you're at. See, that was something that I had gone through many years ago that now I have the opportunity to speak life into that young man, right? I remember, thinking about all the stuff that I went on early in Rachel and I's marriage, and all the stuff that we had to fight through, and the bankruptcy, and losing everything financially, and all the dysfunction that I was living as a new husband, right? Going from not understanding how to handle life's adversity, and because of all that, that led me to my relationship with Jesus. That forced me to grow. And now when I get the chance to mentor younger men, because I'm not young anymore when it comes to an age standpoint or wisdom at 43 as I used to be when I was 27. Now I have that wisdom to champion somebody. And so as I was having this conversation with this young man, I said, listen, you understand the power of being a champion, right? I said, do you know why everything that I do is built around a champion? And he said, no. And I said, well, let me share it with you. And I said, here's the deal is we as athletes, as former athletes, understand the word champion, right? Because that's what we fight for. That's what we work together as a team. That's why we put in the reps and in the weight room and on the practice field. And then when we go out into the game, is we want to win, right? Like, we want to fight to be at the top, to be the best, and to be called the champion, because that's where you get all the accolades and all the recognition and all those different things. I said, you understand that definition of champion. I said, but let me share with you why I believe the word champion is one of the most powerful words ever created. And what it means, or the meaning to me that makes it so important, is what I'm doing right here with you right now. I'm championing you. And he goes, well, what do you mean by that? And I said, literally, the definition of champion, has two meanings. The first one is what I just said. I said, but the second one is that when you champion someone, you become a defender of purpose. You fight on behalf of that person and you help them. Exactly what I'm doing right now with you, helping you, championing you, sharpening you, so that you can go out and you can reach your full potential. And you could just kind of see the eyes light up. You could see the understanding, but the significance of the meaning of that word now is differently in that mind. See, friends, for you, I believe that you've gone through things, that have now put you in a position to champion someone else. That when you make a decision that whatever you're going through today in your life and your marriage and your business, that not only are you going to allow it to make you better, to force you to grow, to begin to start doing some things differently in your life, but then because you decided to grow instead of have an attitude of woe me, and why is this happening to me, and I don't feel this is fair, and utilizing whatever story you may have had for so long, instead you looking at it and saying, I'm going to turn this mess into my message. I'm going to let this test that I'm dealing with become a testimony. And now it forced you to grow, and you decided to become better in your business. You decided to learn a new skill. You decided to commit to a new identity in your mindset or in your marriage, or taking your fitness to the next level. Now, all of a sudden, because you put in the work, not only did you get the benefits, but now you get to go out and champion someone else. So here's the deal, friends. What are you going through right now? What struggle are you dealing with? See, here's one thing I've learned is that if we're honest, we all are going through something. The other morning at my Bible study, there was a gentleman, and one of the things that we do each week is we go through, and one of the things that I start off with is everybody goes around and just talks about a win for the week. Where is God showing up in their life and they're winning, right? Because now what happens is we're focusing our mindset on where God is showing up and the things that are going good versus bad. That's a mindset thing. So the gentleman said, guys, many times I come in here and I'll say a surface level thing, right? I'll say, hey, I'm just glad that I showed up this morning because it's early. For some guys to make it there at 6 o'clock is not normal because they're not used to getting up at 5 o'clock, right? But they are committed to showing up and growing on Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. So he said, typically I'll say this. He goes, but if I can be honest, I'm struggling. And he began to just share a couple things that he was struggling with. Some deaths that have happened in his family with, his, I believe it was his father, and then, a couple other people, just some things that he was dealing with. And, what was so awesome was that the group of men who many of us believe that we're supposed to be these powerful, never show weakness kind of men. And I believe there's a time for that. But instead, there was a group of men who understood the importance of showing emotion, the importance of saying, hey, listen, sometimes it's okay to just say, I'm not okay, and I need some help, and I need to get my mind right, and I need some perspective. And all of a sudden, as we came around that gentleman and we spoke life into him and we allowed him to understand that it's all right, this is a safe place to say, hey, I need some help. Man, the power behind that. And so I want to encourage you today that you might be in a mess dealing with some stuff. You might be, dealing with stuff in your marriage, with your health, your business, or whatever. I want to encourage you today to first and foremost create a foundational belief system that whatever it is that you're going through right now, that it is happening for you and not to you. That you have the ability right now in your life to utilize whatever it is to serve you and to make you better, and understanding that you have a God that loves you so much that doesn't mean that we have a God that loves us so much that he's going to make our life easy, but instead that he sees something in us, that he puts us in positions that force us to grow and become better, so that not only can we rise to the top and become better to be to be a champion in our own life, but now we can go out and we can utilize those things a month from now, years from now, that are going to impact people's lives and make them better. So friends, when I went through the stuff early in our marriage, or when I went through the mercury poisoning that I went to for 2 years, the hell, and I tell that story in my book, or the money issues that we went through because of my lack of leadership and understanding and finances and all those things. Each one of those things at different times in my life required me to grow. It required me to ask the question, what do I not know about this topic? What book can I read? What coach can I hire? What course can I buy? What event do I need to go to where I can level up and get around people that are doing life at a higher level than what I'm doing in this particular area, so that I can grow and become better? And through those things that I went through, it now gave me the opportunity to make investments in myself. The other day, as I was recording videos for our upcoming Champion Builders Academy, I was talking about the investments of life. And many times people will come to me and they'll ask the question, what's the best investment? And I know for the guys, it's a financial question in their mind. That's why they're asking me it, because they've heard somebody say you're supposed to be investing, or maybe I've said it. And many times, they think my answer is going to be, you should invest in this particular stock or this crypto or real estate or whatever. But it always goes back to me telling them, you are the greatest asset you will ever have. Therefore, you should be the best investment. You should be the one that you are investing in the most. And here's the reason why: because the return on that investment, which is what we're all focused on if you're an investor, is going to be the greatest. And many times you will never even be able to understand the true ROI of investing in you, whether that means adopting a discipline of getting up an hour early each day and doing what I like to call the hour of power, or reading 10 pages a day, or praying, and seeking wisdom from God. These are all investments. Investments don't always mean that you have to invest money. I would actually challenge that and say that sometimes the greatest investment, that we have is our time. Right. So it's what are we willing to do with our time each and every day, that now when we begin to start spending time on something, now all of a sudden when we couple that with spending, money on certain things, that becomes literally a significant difference. Right. So I want to encourage you today, ask that question, friend. Where do you need to level up? What are you going through that God's giving you an opportunity to get better, that he can now take this mess that you're in, right, and turn it into a message later. And sometimes it's going to be something so minor, but trust me when I say, friends, it's the little foxes that spoil the vineyard. There's a saying, right? That's a scripture, right? Meaning that these little things in life, if we don't pay attention to them, we don't correct them, we don't fix them, that's what now affects something catastrophic potentially years down the road. So I want to encourage you today, friends, to look at your life and to say, hold on for a second. Life is not happening to me. Life is happening for me. Where do I need to grow? Where do I need to level up? What skills do I need to learn? Who do I need to get around? What are the things that I need to begin to start focusing on more on a daily basis that at the end of the day are going to build me to the next best version of myself? Maybe it's love. Maybe it's more self-control. Maybe it's creating more discipline in your life. Maybe it's asking somebody for forgiveness or forgiving somebody, right? All these things, friends, on a daily basis add up. And at the end of the day, weeks go by, months go by, even years. And some of the things that we could have corrected years ago are still hindering us from being the champion that God created us to be and living our champion life. So I want to encourage you today, friends, before you move on to the next thing that you got to do, if you're listening to this podcast while you're driving or while you're working out or whatever, decide the one thing that you need to do and go and do it, and do it right away. Don't just move on. See, there's transitions in life, right? As a husband, you may be working, and I've always told the guys that I've worked with, and I try to adopt it to myself, and I always haven't been the best at it. But when you're driving home, never walk into the house while you're still on the phone talking to somebody, because those little kids that you have, maybe, they are waiting for their hero to come home, or your spouse or whatever. So there's transitions. I want to encourage you today, before you transition to the next thing after listening to this podcast right now, decide the one thing that you need to reframe your mindset on. And instead of looking at it as it's happening to you, instead choose today that it's happening for you, and figure out what do you need to do to utilize whatever it is that you're going through to serve you to become better in your life and to help you go to the next level. Friends, this is what we're all about here, by the way. This is why I created Champion Builders. It's to not only serve the mission and the purpose that God has for me to go out and build champions, but also to help you go next level and change your thinking and understanding that, hey, listen, the mess that maybe you've made or the things that you're going through or growing through, they're for a greater purpose than just you, just yourself. The impact that you can have when you change your mindset and you decide to level up today, man, it is huge. So, hey, listen, I love you. Once again, I want to share this with you real quick before I exit off. I'm so grateful and thankful that you take the time to listen to this podcast, that you would be willing to tune in and to say, you know what, there's something that I'm grabbing from this. And I want to encourage you, let us know how we can help. Let my wife Rachel know how we can help. We are on a mission to impact men and women, okay, to go next level in their life and their marriages, and to be able to create this champion life that we've been able to create, that I feel so blessed and so thankful to do. And I want to encourage you, take part in some of the things we have going on, whether it's our academy, our coaching events, those different things. That we want you to be a part of our community. We want to know how we can serve you more. Let us know some topics that you'd love for us to cover on the podcast. But we are grateful and thankful that you take the time to tune in to this podcast. So, hey, I love you. Keep winning, keep going, keep growing, and we'll see you on the next episode. God bless.